Good morning. You talked about predictions and forecasts. Some that were right, some were wrong. But one of the ones that strikes me, we all read a lot of stories about with the fall in commodity prices and specifically oil and gas that would be painful for the industry, but the benefits would far outweigh the negative to the industry. But it really seems what we're seeing now is the negative impact has been far more pervasive than what people really thought. And we haven't really seen necessarily the benefits of the lower prices. And I'm just curious on your views, just in general, is that a lag effect more than anything, or did we really just miss this? And the impact to the large companies and supporting industries is going to be more of a negative factor than people thought.
So the question, you have the mic, but I think this is a great question because this is one of the things that we studied in advance. We thought we knew the answer to, and the world has changed, and the answer, what we saw was different than what, speaking for myself, we got this wrong. So let me explain what happened. So when oil prices plummeted, we normally would think because the U.S. economy imports about half of our oil, that basically lower oil prices is like a tax cut for American consumers. We're not sending as much money to the Middle East. We get to spend that money on ourselves. We can go buy cars. We can buy a new refrigerator. You can go out to dinner. So it's really beneficial. And since we're not a huge oil producer ourselves, it doesn't have much of a negative effect there. Well, the world has changed, especially with fracking or tight oil. There was a lot of employment, a lot of investment, a lot of jobs related to the oil extraction in the Dakotas and Texas and in those areas. And so that's one thing. So the loss of jobs from that you mentioned was pretty significant. But we kind of knew that was coming. It was really this issue of lag that you mentioned. So what happens is that when you think of deep water oil, or like think about the big oil exploration that the big oil companies do, those are multi-year programs that take years of exploration, years of development, years of drilling. They have the big oil companies would have a perspective of what's going to happen in the next 10 or 20 years. But with tight oil, basically you can go in very quickly, you can extract very quickly, and basically get all the oil out of the well within a couple of years. And so you're much more nimble about how you respond to changes in prices. You haven't made it in, you're not thinking about the long run so much. You think about, hey, does it make sense to extract the oil today or drill today with the oil prices? So when oil prices fell, a lot of these marginal producers, meaning the producers where their costs were maybe at $60, $70, $80 a barrel, they just saw that it was no longer profitable and they shut down. So you saw this really rapid decline in employment, and then obviously all the industry that supports that and everything, all the factors around that. So we saw the lags there being so much shorter than you would normally think about in terms of any kind of mineral or other extractive industry. So that was a miss in terms of the negatives in, say, the first half of 2015. Now, on the other side, have we not seen the benefits of lower oil prices, gas prices? I think I would argue that we are seeing them. We're seeing them especially where you would expect to see them. Consumer spending has been growing faster than I think you would otherwise expect. You definitely see in the fact that everyone's buying SUVs again. But I do think there's a lag effect there. And so what's going on with that, and I think this is changing now, is that early last year they did surveys and they asked households, how long do you think gas prices could stay low? Most people thought that this was just a transitory thing that was due to some, geopolitical or whatever. And so people were, in their surveys, were saying, I think gas prices go back up to $4 or whatever a gallon. And so therefore they didn't really change their behavior. We know if you get a temporary movement in gas prices, you're not going to make a big decision in life. Now that it's been in place for over a year, and there's another leg down on oil prices, the surveys are indicating that people are saying, well, I don't think gas prices are going back to $4. They may not stay this low. So we may get some more kick from that. It's one of the things that I see as actually a little bit of a potential upside in terms of my forecast, because I'm kind of thinking we're going to see continuation consumer and saving behavior that we've seen. But we actually could see people go a little bit more of a spending spree now that the gas prices are so low.